is a former Pueblo student, which is really exciting. And what's even more exciting is he is an author already, and he's only 17. So it kind of shows you what you can do. You don't have to wait till you're older to do something really cool. And so Sam is going to tell you a little bit about himself and about his writing process and how he gets ideas. And so I hope you'll give him your full attention. And then at the end, there will be a time to ask questions if you have any. Thanks.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So like Kathy said, I am Sam Reynolds, and as she told you, I am 17 currently. I went to Pueblo during the 2010-2011 school year. I was on the original Spirit Dogs team, as you can see by my very old shirt. I had Miss Siminek as my English teacher. I know she still is here. I saw her 2 weeks ago. Miss Pate was my science teacher. She then retired after I had left. Miss Lagerquist was my history teacher. I know she's still here. And Miss Alva was my math teacher. She's now in Oregon. I'm now going to a charter school in Mesa called Heritage Academy. It's a really good school. They got really good teachers and a really good curriculum. I am a junior there right now, and I'll be graduating next year. So how my books began. So it was the summer before my 6th grade year coming to Pueblo. And you know, it was one of those days where you're at your best friend's house, you're in the pool, you're eating barbecue chips, and all of a sudden you think to yourself, you know, I'm going to write a book. And that's what I did. When I started on the idea, when I was a little boy, I used to love the Jurassic Park movies. I still do. And I wanted to take that idea of bringing dinosaurs back to life and kind of putting that into my story. So my beginning writing process, writing 2 books at the same time and how that doesn't always work. I should have put that it never works. When I was first conceiving the series, there was 4 books planned. And I started working on the first one and the 3rd one. I'm like, oh, if I write 2 books at the same time, I can get the series done twice as fast, right? No, that did not work. I eventually had to scrap most of what I had done on that 3rd book and mainly focus on the 1st book, and that was really sad. But there was an opportunity for me to kind of get my book, per se, a little bit published. Pueblo used to have a thing called the Pueblo Publishing or Pueblo Writing Club, where they would encourage students to, like, you know, write creative writing or stories or anything like that. And then they would give you this little binder with this really soft paper, and they would print it out for you. So with all that I had done on this little book that I had started, it was pretty good. And I've kept this as a little memorandum. Wow, I'm already thirsty. Now, my concept over actual writing philosophy is a terrible philosophy at that. Basically what I mean by that is I focused a lot more on how the characters look like. You see there's concept art there on the table. Instead of actually writing what they would do in the story. And I focused on that way too much, especially during my 6th grade year, and I'll draw a character 1,000 times over with different hairstyles or different weapons or different whatever. And if I had a first piece of advice to give to you, it's you can have all the concepts of how the characters are going to look inside your head, but keep them inside your head. You can doodle, you can draw them a little bit, but if you want to actually get the story done, write the story. Now, going into on actual publishing. You guys may know Lizzie Stewart or her brother Eli. Lizzie went to Pueblo the year after I did. She's at Corona now. She introduced me to this thing called NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. They hold it every November. And basically what they do is you have to write a book in 30 days with at least 30,000 words, so 1,000 words per day. And I used that as an opportunity to kind of finish my 1st book. Lizzie had written a book the year before that for her NaNoWriMo, and it was like 80 pages long, and I bought it, and it was really good. So I wanted to do the exact same thing. So either you have to have a word goal of 30,000 words or more. You can set whatever word goal you want. And if you beat that word goal, then you win the contest, and you get the chance to publish your book with Amazon's publishing company called CreateSpace. So I won the contest. I think the 1st book was 40,000 something words. I can't quite remember. Then how do you get into CreateSpace? How it works is they give you a code that you then use to set up your account. And then to set up the book, you upload your basic document file or whatever has the book part in it. And they have this software that you can use to create your own cover. I did that for both of the books. And after you submit it to them, within 24 hours you'll get it approved, and within the next few days it'll be on Amazon.com, which is really interesting. Now, my completed projects, I'll take the time now to talk about these books on the table. So you might notice that there's 3 versions of the first book. You might be asking yourself, why? Well, I'll tell you why. So this is the first version of Dino Hunters Part 1. You see the title's a little bit different than the other ones. It's kind of a little bit more blocky-ish. And I was more focused on getting the book done in time that I remembered, oh, this took me 4 years to write, so that is full of mistakes. And I realized I didn't want this to be the only version that existed. Then I came to the second version. I changed the title to make it look a bit nicer, and I fixed some of the mistakes, and then I realized, oh, there's even more mistakes I need to fix. So I took a black pen and just went through this thing like your teacher would go through your English paper. And after 9 grueling days of making mistakes, fixing them, and getting them back and reapproved, I came to this final third version. It's very, very free of almost all the mistakes, I'm pretty sure, and it's the best version of the book that I have, and I'm very proud of it. Now I come on to Book 2, Dino Hunters Part 2 Armageddon. If you guys have been following the story so far, the summer of 2010 was when I started writing these books. I didn't get that book done till December of 2014. So it took me over 4 years to write. I would write for like a month, or not even a month. I would write for a few chapters, and then I wouldn't write for like 2 weeks. And then I'd write like a couple more chapters, and then I wouldn't write for like a month. So I would write a little bit more, but then I'd take more time off and be lazy. So don't do that. It's a terrible way to get it done. But Part 2, I didn't take 4 years to write. Part 2, it took me 4 months. So I dramatically decreased the crunch time, or increased the crunch time to get it done quicker. And this book's about, I'd say, double the size of that one, and I am very, very happy that I got it done the way I wanted to. Now, I'm going to read to you guys the summaries of both of the books, and then I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a treat. I'm just thirsty today. Alright, so this is for Dino Hunters Part 1. Harrison Lumina was just an ordinary teenager living in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He and his 7 friends would soon experience the greatest tragedy of their time, because they would be the ones to save mankind from total annihilation. What seemed as a night at the prom turned to a gory disaster, and what seemed as normal was all thrown away. The city was destroyed, and a man was claimed responsible. He did what no one thought was possible. He bred species that were lost to the ravages of time. He reanimated prehistoric dinosaurs for one purpose: to wreak havoc. Will Harrison and his friends be able to stop him in time? Will the villain be brought to justice, or bring the planet down on its knees? Will the government try to sabotage the mission rather than aid our heroes? Will their group known as the Hunters complete the task ahead, or come short and seal humankind's extinction? Discover in this thrilling novel full of intense action, romance, mysteries around every corner, and a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat begging for more. The truth, the real story, is unveiled in the beginning of this deadly journey, Dino Hunters Part 1. And then for Part 2, stay. I could stay. Okay. Left in the ruins with a member dead and the ships obliterated, the Hunters' only objective left is to survive. The island of Toronto is a place of many secrets, and the group discovers these secrets as they try to uncover the mysteries of the island. Oliver Jensen still poses a grave threat to society and the world, greater than ever before. Will they be able to cage the dinosaur threat in time, or will they be forced to take extreme measures and change their objective entirely in order to save the world? Harrison and those who remain will be put to the ultimate test. They will either unite them together or sever them permanently. Dive into the highly anticipated sequel to Dino Hunters Part 1, and follow the Hunters through the next phase of their perilous, life-threatening journey in Dino Hunters Part 2 Armageddon. And now, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek of my next upcoming projects. Coming sometime this spring, hopefully in March, about the middle of March, where our spring breaks will be. I will be calling the third novel Deadlock. If you read the first 2 books, you'll know why I'm not calling it Dino Hunters Part 3, for obvious reasons. This is going to be the cover of the book that I decided. It's got 5 birds on a broken fence, and it's kind of symbolic. There'll be a lot of death. So let me read you guys the summary of the 3rd book. Although the Hunters managed to escape the clutches of Oliver Jensen on Toronto, he still remains a grave threat. Thought to be dead, there was nothing left to stop him from unleashing the final phase of his ultimate plan, making humanity pay the price. Finding themselves on the run, will the team be able to end Jensen's plans before they come to fruition? Or, when faced with a bounty on their heads, will Harrison's actions risk the future of humanity? Just over a year after the first in the series was released, the next chapter of the long-lost Secret series has arrived. Join Harrison and his team as they once again have to fight their way to survive through this epic yet grim journey. Prepare, as all hope seems lost and all hell breaks loose in deadlock. So, my plans for the future as an author. Like I said in the beginning, there's going to be 4 books in this series. I have 2 done, so I have 2 to go. Deadlock will be sometime this spring in the next few months, if I can try and get it done. I originally had Deadlock planned to be out in December to commemorate the 1-year anniversary of the first book being published, but that didn't happen because my life got in the way. So I'm trying my hardest to get this next book out as soon as possible and making it good. And then the 4th book, called Annihilation, will be out later in 2016, hopefully either by August or December, whichever comes first. I have plans to visit more schools. I was here visiting the 6th and 7th graders 2 weeks ago. They absolutely loved it. I went over to Paloma last year to visit the 5th graders. I actually had some of them in the 6th grade class that I visited, so it was pretty cool to see them again. Hopefully I'll have the chance to go to more schools to talk about my books and what I love doing. And I hope that I'll be able to use my talents as a creative writer and an author to prove to the world one of my greatest goals that I have, which is to show what I'm capable of and how far I'm willing to go to make it the best that it can be. And I use that, and I'm able to do that through my storytelling, dialogue, and characters. So now we've reached the time for our Q&A. So ask your questions away. Tell me your name, please.
Tyrell.
Tyrell?
Tyrell.
Oh, Tyrell.
Do you play video games at all? Okay, so because have you heard of the game Jurassic the Hunted?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've played it yet.
It reminded me of your book.
I should go check it out then. Tell me your name.
My name's Sunny.
Tell me.
How long do you, I'm a writer also, how long do you take to edit yours? Because I edit and I re-edit my same chapters for hours on end, adding more detail. How long does it take you?
Well, the first book, I went through that long process of editing it myself, and I didn't want to do that again. So on the second book, I had my friend who helped co-create the series edit it alongside me, and we would kind of compare, if we thought that this was a good mistake to fix or whatever. And it took him, I think, a month to edit the second one. On this third one, I've kind of broken off and say, I'll do this one, and if you want to help me with the next one, you can. He's like, all right, that's cool. So I'd say, depending on how fast you want to go and how good you want to make it, I'd say between maybe, or how long the book is, I'd say a few weeks or maybe a month. I know it's kind of long, but it's worth it to edit. Please edit your things, please. Don't do what I did and make a mistake. Any other questions?
I do.
Oh.
So, so you have 4 books in collection. So, how long did it take to make the first book? How long?
It took approximately 4.5 years from start to finish. That's because I was lazy and didn't work at it as I should have. And then I didn't make that mistake. I was on a plane back from Hawaii back last March, and I was working on the second one. I knew I was going to be behind because I wanted to have it done by April so my friend could edit it so I can have it out by May. And I wrote 6 chapters on the plane ride back because I was really far behind. So you kind of just have to get in your writing zone and just work as much as you can and don't stop. Tyrell?
Do you ever listen to music when you write?
Yeah, I do. That's the only thing that will get me to write is music. Tell me your name.
Dimitri, and when you're making books and stuff, where would you get your inspiration and where would you find a publisher that wants to
Where would I find my inspiration? Well, 6 years ago, Harry Potter, that was the big thing, right? And I got the series. I didn't read all of them. I know, what a shame. I looked at J.K. Rowling and I'm like, whoa, she's a really good author. Maybe I could be a really good author too. And I loved how she could just do anything with her world that she had made up. And I wanted to make something of my own world that no one had ever seen before and that people would really like. Any other questions for me? Okay.
Sam, what would happen if you sat down to write and nothing was coming? No ideas were coming. What would you do?
Writer's block. I'm sure all of you have had writer's block at some point in your life. What I usually do is, if nothing comes to me, then I go and do something else. Like I'll go watch Netflix, or I will just go outside. Yeah, I know I'm cool, right? I will do whatever it is to take my mind off of it, and then sometimes, like when I'm doing nothing that pertains to the book, something will just pop in my head, like, oh, that's a really good idea. I should go write that down. And then I do. I'm like, no wonder I had writer's block. I didn't come up with this great idea until just now. Like I think some of the most crucial parts of that book were when I had writer's block, and I was just going throughout my day. I'm like, something comes to my head, I'm like, oh yeah, that's how I'm going to kill that character. Or like, that's how I'm going to end that chapter. Wow. Any other questions for me? Well, lucky for you guys, Kathy took the liberty of buying copies of the books for this library. So, as of Tuesday, right, we can start checking these out. So, I have my handy-dandy Sharpie here, and I'm going to sign one copy for each class that comes in. So, I'm going to sign this copy for you guys right now. Anything specific you want me to write in it?
Shout out to Pueblo.
Happy late birthday. Great, happy going. Have fun reading.
Have fun reading?
With pizzazz.
Have fun reading a great future.
Okay.
Don't get killed by dinosaurs.
Have fun reading. Don't get killed by dinosaurs. Signed. Sam Reynolds. All right. Signed, ready to go. If you guys want to come up and kind of see the books, do whatever you want, you can come up here, look at stuff.
Check it out right now.
So as of Tuesday?
As of Tuesday, you can check these out.
They're at the library?
Yep.
No, like I got a bunch of
Have your attention for a minute, please. One thing I wanted to let you know is that Sam's books can be found on Amazon. And if any of you are interested, your teachers have slips of paper that will just have Sam's name on them. And so you can look up by the title or by Sam's name, Samuel Reynolds. Hi, Matt.
Said you were here. This was this.
Matt. What?
Like that wasn't me, that was my twin. I think one thing that might grab them, if you read the first page of whichever one you like, if you really kind of like want to read more and get going. I'm asking them to read like the first page.
Hey guys,
Listen up, guys.
your teacher made a suggestion for me to read the first page of one of the books. So I'm going to read the first page of the second one. So it may not make a lot of sense. Just go with me here. So this is chapter 1 of the second book. Chapter 1, All That Remains. As the clouds darkened from the thick smoke, the hunters knew that their only option was to head for the island. The heat of the wreckage surrounding them was so intense that they felt as if the sun itself was blasting waves of blistering hot energy on them. Clearing away from the wreckage was the easy part. The hard part would be to make it to the island before dark. Night had fallen, and off in the distance, the glow of the burning ship could still be seen. The group had exercised all their remaining strength to make it to the shore, a journey much more difficult than they had anticipated. They sat near to the edge of the trees and tried to huddle for warmth as Nick managed to start a small fire. Many were coughing up from choking on seawater and were shivering from the extreme cold. What were those things? Sadie managed to stutter out. Lyle Pleurodons, Harrison chattered. He could barely speak. What are we going to do? Jackson, he's gone. Julia tried to hold back, but started crying again. Hey, it's okay. Chase tried to comfort her. Now, how can you be so sure? We have lost our ship, lost all means of communication and food we had, and are now going to die alone out here. How could anything possibly get better? She retorted. By simply shutting up and being thankful that you're alive, Christina snapped. So before you guys go, like Kathy said, your teachers have these. If you want to take a little slip, it explains where to go get the books on Amazon. They're $10 each as of now. And I really hope you guys enjoyed me coming today. If there's any other questions you guys have, I'd be willing to answer. And if not, who wants to take a selfie with me? I'll take it on
I'm here.
Who wants to be in the selfie? Come on. Let's go this
So are they available now for like checkout?
Come here, Nate. Oh, yeah.
Like, how do you get the idea to write in that genre?
In that genre, like of sci-fi, well, I've always loved sci-fi. Like I like, Star Wars, Star Trek, Jurassic Park, Ender's Game. Like as much as nonfiction is cool and interesting, I don't like to write it because you have to research and do so much more work. That's why I wrote fiction, because fiction is so much easier, and science and dinosaurs works. Tyrell?
Have you ever seen the movie on the Sci-Fi Channel, Sharknado?
Sadly, yes. It's terrible.
It was horrible.
It's a terrible movie.
Have you seen Sharknado 2?
Yes. Even more terrible. It's a chainsaw.
They're making a 3.
The 3 already came out.
Oh.
Shows how cheap it is.
How do you think of the places where you place everything?
Well, I placed everything. Well, the picture on the front cover is Minneapolis in Minnesota. I chose that because my friend goes there every summer on vacation. I'm like, well, Minneapolis sounds cool, so let's make it the setting of the book. So I made it the setting of the second one. Because they're on a fictitious island, I'm like, well, this is kind of like Jurassic Park. They're on an island full of dinosaurs that are going to kill them. And then I think 3 is just going to be them on the run, because now they're considered terrorists because they didn't follow what the government said, blah, 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 they're going to die. And the 4th book is just going to be them basically saving the world from being blown up.
The government should be.
Blown up. Like a poo-poo.
Fighting for them? No, I haven't made the dinosaurs good. All the dinosaurs are bad. But in part 3, or Deadlock per se, there will be dragons. Yes! So, how many pages? The first one is, let's see, 169, and this one is 233. Any other questions? Comments, concerns, happy thoughts?
I cannot wait for the dragons.
You will like the dragons. They're in an alternate dimension, and there's another team that's trying to hunt them down because the dragons are supposed to help the good guys, but if all the dragons are all dead, then the bad guys will win. Tell me your name?
Taylor, where'd you get the idea for the Dino Hunter thing?
Dino Hunters?
Yeah.
Well, it's like, oh, well, what's Dino Hunters about? It's people that hunt dinosaurs. Well, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? One side, like, well, dinosaurs are the coolest thing in the world because they are. And then I'm like, well, looks like I'm going to stick with that idea then, and just because when you have characters and you have dinosaurs, there's going to be opportunities to kill the characters with the dinosaurs, and you can do it in a lot of fun ways because of dinosaurs. I found pleasure in finding different ways to kill my characters. Like 11 people are going to die in this next book. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And the what?
11.
Tell me your name.
How old are the characters?
The characters are, my original plan was to have them in 7th grade. I'm like, oh, I'm going to write about a grade above me. And then I'm like, no, that can't work. So I'm going to write about it in, right now they're freshman age. Or in high school. And by the end of the series, a few of them are going to be married, some of them are going to be dead. Yeah,
So it's like 40 years old.
it's going to be like one of those 19 years later thing, like the main character's married. It's going to be great. It's going to end with a wedding. It's going to be so much fun.
They have a wedding.
They should have a wedding and the dinosaur just shows up.
No, dinosaurs are dead. Taylor?
Is the wedding get crashed by dinosaurs?
No. The wedding will not be crashed by dinosaurs. I'm sorry to break it to you. But the wedding will kind of end with basically this character you guys see up here, who's the goth chick. Her name is Christina, and she's like my favorite character ever to write about. And basically it's going to be her wedding. You never thought she was going to get married, right? Like she's the one in the group that's like, ugh, you're kind of weird. But she's the one that's getting married to this guy. The main character is based off me, and his girlfriend. They get married, and they have some kids. And a couple other characters get married. They have kids. And basically they're going to gather all the kids around and be like, all right, kids, we have a story to tell you. And then they're going to tell the story of the entire series from start to finish all over again. So this series just goes on forever.
You should find a way to make the dinosaurs docile.
Docile.
Name one of the kids Tyrone.
Tyrone.
Or Rashawn. That's the middle name.
What? A Pueblo joke? Well, what's a good Pueblo joke to put in there?
Yeah, the dinosaur was like, hey, you're a dinosaur.
Well, yeah, if you guys read part 2 and then if you read part 3, you'll realize why it isn't called Dino Hunters. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's a reason why it's not called Dino Hunters anymore.
Because it's called Dragon Hunters.
It was going to be called Dragon Hunters. Dragon Hunters was going to be the spin-off novel that would be after the series was over, but I wanted to have that in the series, so I took half of that, put it in part in the 3rd book, and then the other half is going to be the main characters trying not to get killed by the government.
How does this all
Any other questions, comments, concerns, happy thoughts? Any more selfies?
Happy thoughts.
Will you do any series about like zombie apocalypse or anything?
Well, I am a big fan of The Walking Dead.
I love it.
Comes back Sunday. My friend, he is kind of one that got me obsessed with zombies. And the 3rd book kind of goes into zombies a little bit. Like there's this Mayan serum that the main villain is that he makes up that it's chemically confusing, I know. Basically, whenever someone gets injected with it or like they breathe it in through the air, their eyes turn purple and they basically become mind controlled under him. and like until he like snaps his fingers or does something, then they come out of it. So they've infused Christina with it, but the characters don't know that she's been infused because they don't know she's a double agent. So kind of like zombies.
Is that your shirt, like flashes from 6th grade?
Yeah.
That's so big.
It's a medium. I'm a large. I put it in a box under my bed. I'm like, hey, I should just like find
I
this.
would have like.
Shout out to you. Anybody else? You guys gotta go? I don't know.
No, we got someone in it.
You feel like reading the first page of the first one?
What?
You feel like reading the first page of the first one? Or is there a favorite scene that you have that you like to?
A favorite?
Will you read the last page?
The last page of this one or this one?
Not the last page. I love reading the last page.
Me too.
No, not the last page, Cody.
That's what I do.
Last page.
Especially during book report.
Fine, I'll cave to your demands.
Thank you.
This is the last page of the first one. Well, it's like the last page and a half or so. Let's see. Without delay, Harrison plunged into the air. All he could hear was shattering explosions behind him, but he didn't dare to look back. All he felt was intense heat pursuing him as he entered the water. The silence was broken by enormous pieces of debris chopped through the water. As enormous pieces of debris chopped through the water. Harrison dodged as he tried to swim to the surface. He came up to the surface and began screaming everyone's names. Off in the distance, he heard them calling him. Swimming as fast as he could, the team huddled together, trying to stay above the water. Harrison turned to the former remains of the ship. The smoldering ship had lost many pieces of its hull, and the flames engulfed the entire carrier. Puffs of dark smoke filled the air and darkened the sky. As the surviving hunters gazed at the horror of destruction, Harrison and Sadie found their way to each other. Neither said a word to one another, until Harrison slowly raised his hand out of the water. He stared at Sadie, and she looked back. Locking their fingers together, their hands remaining closed in deep gratitude and immense sorrow. Harrison lowered his hands back into the water and spied Julia. Her sadness seemed unimaginable, and while the group huddled together around her, she was crying. Even the thought of not weeping forced Julia to continue expressing her intolerable torment. The seven of them watched the ship slowly fall apart. For all they knew, Jackson was dead. They had no means of communication, were stranded and left to die, and only had one objective: to survive. Oh, you're stretching? Okay.
You guys have any more questions? All right, so this is a pretty cool opportunity, guys, and it really does go to show you that even though you guys are young, when can you start the novel process?
Today.
Right now. Right now. Right now. So, what do you guys say to our author for taking time out of his
Thank you so much.
At this point in time, we're going to go back to class. We have a fun activity for you guys to do. It's Friday.
Yes.
So we're going to let you guys get those creative juices flowing. Take some of the things that you learned today, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to start creating some stories. So we're going to go back to class. Here's the deal. So the class is going on right now, so how do we got to go back to class?
Quiet.
Yeah, let's make sure we do it quiet. Okay.
Thank you.
Check out the books, you guys.
Check out the books. Enjoy them.
You guys, how many people want to call it?
Coming out in 2048.
Girls, check out the books.